Hello students, myself Ushmita. Hope you are doing well. So today we are going to start a new chapter, Atoms and Molecules of class 9. In this chapter, we are going to discover about how the atoms and molecules they were discovered and how they exist. So what happened that ancient Indian Greek philosophers they have always wondered about the unknown and unseen form of matter. So the idea of visibility of matter was considered long back in India around 500 BC. So another Indian philosopher was there. His name was Maharishi Kannad. He postulated that if we go on dividing matter, we shall get smaller and smaller particles. So ultimately, stage will come when we shall come across beyond which the smallest particle will not be divisible. So he named that particles as Parmanu, which means atom. And another Indian philosopher, Pakoda Katayama, elaborated this doctrine and said that if we go on dividing small particles, we will also get atom, which means Paramanu. But these atoms they exist in a compound form. In their various forms they exist, which forms compound. So by the end of 18th century, many scientists they recognized and they became interested at how these atoms exist and what happened when the atoms, when these elements they combine and they form compounds. So what happened? So which new compounds we will get? So what happened again after that? Antonio Lavoisier he gave us two laws of chemical combination. So the following two laws of combinations they were performed after much experimentation work by Joseph L. Proust and Antonio L. Lavoisier. So first law is law of conservation of mass. Law of conservation of mass states that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction, but it can form another form by itself. How he stated law of conservation mass, how mass can be conserved. Let's perform an activity. Take 1.25 gram of copper sulfate and 1.43 gram of sodium carbonate in a test tube. Now what you have to do after that? That you have to prepare a solution of 5% of each solution named as X and Y. You can name X as copper sulfate and Y as sodium carbonate, each in 10 ml of water. Now you have to take X solution which you have prepared in an ignition tube and Y solution in a flask. So what you have to do, you can see the picture also here that I have mentioned what is an ignition tube and what's a conical flask. Now heat the solutions. First of all, put the ignition tube in a conical flask. Now heat the solution. Afterwards, you have to see the observations. What observations you can see. Before that, weigh the mixture also that you have performed. Now afterwards, put the cork on the conical flask. Now weigh that solution, weigh that mixture that you have made. Now afterwards, what you have to do, mix the X and Y solution in the conical flask. Now again weight the solution. You will see that weight remains same. How that earlier it was the separately X and Y solutions, but afterwards when we mix them again we are getting same weight. Yes, so this activity proves that law of conservation mass that conservation is to store or to conserve something. So conservation of mass means to conserve the mass, to store the mass. So that's why he gave us a first law that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction, but it can go in another form. So he gave us the first law, that is law of conservation of mass. So our second law is law of constant proportions. So Lavoisier, along with other scientists, he discovered that many compounds that are composed of two or more elements, and each such compound had the same elements in the same proportion, irrespective of the compound where it came from. For example, in a compound such as water, the mass of the hydrogen to the mass of oxygen is always to the ratio 1:8. So what happened if 9 gram of water is decomposed, then 1 gram of hydrogen and 8 gram of oxygen is always obtained. So whatever source is there, so whatever source from it is obtained. Similarly in ammonia, to the mass of nitrogen to the mass of oxygen, the ratio is always 14:3 by mass, whatever the method or source it is obtained from. So this law states that in a chemical substance, the elements they are always present definite proportion by mass, whatever source it is obtained or from where you are taking that substance. So, but the next problem faced by scientists was that how to explain this to the world, to how we can give the explanation of this laws to the world. So John Dalton, he was a scientist. He came with this theory. He gave a theory and postulates. He didn't do any experimentation work. He just gave only theory and observe what he observed. On the basis of that observation and experimentation, he gave some theories and postulates. He gave the theory literal laws of chemical combination. So he said that all atomic masses, that all matter, whether it is of element, compound or mixture, they are composed of smallest particles, that is atom. So the postulates that he gave, that a first postulate was that all matter, they are composed of atoms, The second postulate that he gave that atoms, they are individual particles which cannot be created nor destroyed. Next, he gave that atoms of a given element, they have same mass and chemical properties. The next, he gave that atoms of different elements, obviously different elements will be there, then different mass and different chemical properties it will have. The next postulate is that atoms combining in the same whole, they combine the whole number to give a compound. So in the small ratio, they can give a compound. So atoms, they combine the small whole number. The next postulate, but not the least, the last postulate is the relative number of atoms and kinds are constant in a given compound. So he gave the 6 postulates. On this basis of these postulates, these 2 laws were explained at how the laws of chemical combination can be explained to the world, to the people who they were asking at what can be the explanation of these 2 laws. So these were 2 laws, law of conservation mass and law of constant proportions, which are very important. On this basis of 2 laws, we are discussing the whole chemistry. So next topic is, what is an atom? Have you ever seen a mason building a wall, from a wall to a room, then a collection of rooms to a building? So what is the building block of the huge building? That is brick. Similarly, the building block of a matter is an atom. It's an atom. So that's an atom. What is an atom? The building block of an matter, that is an atom. So the next question arises that how big are atoms? Atoms are very small. They're smaller than anything we can imagine or compare with. They're too small, like their atomic radius. Atoms radius is always measured in nanometers, that is 10⁻⁹. They are too small. So, for example, more than millions of atoms, when they're stacked, they will make a layer barely as thick as a sheet of paper. So, that's too small that we can imagine or compare. We can't imagine. And even under a microscope, they're too invisible that we can't see under a microscope too. So, that's why they are measured in nanometers. So, this was how bigger atoms are. What is an atom? So, the next topic is, what are the modern day symbols of atoms of different elements? So Dalton was the first scientist to use the symbols for the elements in a very specific sense. For the Berzelius, he suggested that the symbols of the elements be made from the first 1 or 2 letters of the name of the element. So what happened that in the beginning what happened that some elements' name were taken from the place where they were found for the first time. For example, copper. It's the name is taken of copper from the place Cyprus. Some elements' name was taken from the specific colors. For example, gold. In English, word means yellow color. So these were some of the elements from symbols, or you can say name, that were taken from the place or from a specific color. For example, some elements were there. They were taken from the Latin name of the elements, Latin, Greek, or German name of the elements. For example, iron. Its symbol is Fe, which means ferrum. Sodium, which means Na. We are writing sodium as Na. Symbol is Na, which means natrium. From natrium, we have derived Na. Of potassium, symbol is K. From the name was kalium. From the kalium, we took the word K as a symbol for potassium. Similarly, for iron, Fe. Ferrum means ferrum was a name. From the name ferrum, we took the symbol Fe for iron. So what happened nowadays? IUPAC, which is an international organization, this international organization proves the name of the elements and the symbols. So, for example, what we are using, that we are taking the name. We are taking the name of the element, first word or the first 2 letters. We are taking of the element, and what we are doing that. For example, of hydrogen, H is written simply as a symbol of the hydrogen. Of aluminium, we are writing A and L. First 2 letters we have taken of aluminium, A and L. So the first letter is written as a capital and second letter is written as small. In a small case it is written. So these are some specific rules, you can say. We are using the symbols. For example, cobalt also, if I can mention of cobalt. So the first word is C, which is written as capital, and second is O, which is written as small. In a small case, we are writing as of cobalt. So these are some of the rules given by IUPAC to name the symbols of some of the elements. Some were taken from the colors also, like gold, which in English means yellow. From some like sodium, Na. We have taken of Latin, Greek or German. These were the name of the elements in Latin, German, Greek. So there are some of the symbols. So I will mention a table also for you where you can see the symbols of some of the elements which are very important. You must know about these symbols of these elements, as with these symbols only will deal with the chemistry. And next topic is atomic mass. The most remarkable concept that Dalton's atomic theory proposed was that of the atomic mass. So according to him, each element had a characteristic atomic mass. So let's take an example. In a compound, for example, carbon monoxide, which is form of carbon and oxygen. So it was experimentally proved that 3 grams of carbon combines with 4 grams of oxygen to form a carbon monoxide. In other words, carbon combines with 4 by 3 its mass of oxygen to form carbon monoxide with CO. So its symbol is also written as CO, carbon monoxide. So what happened that he took, means it was a observed experiment 4 by 3 times it was taken as mass of oxygen. Since if we define it atomic mass unit, its abbreviation is AMU, we get as a equal to the mass of one carbon atom, we get a whole number. So this whole number as possible, but while searching for atomic mass unit, scientists discovered the oxygen. So scientists discovered 1/16 of naturally occurring the mass of the oxygen atom. So why they considered oxygen only? Due to two reasons. First reason was that oxygen, it reacted most of the elements to form compounds, and second that this atomic mass unit, it gives most of the elements as a whole number. So that's why due to two reasons, scientists they took oxygen as 1/16 mass of oxygen as atomic mass unit. But however, in 1961, universally the carbon-12 isotope was taken as a standard reference for measuring atomic mass unit. So earlier we have, scientists they were using atomic mass unit of oxygen, but according after many experimentations, when theories, so some theories, some experimentation they were failed, but some were they were successful in the experimentation. So they come to the conclusion to take a standard reference of carbon-12 isotope to measure as atomic mass unit. So one atomic mass unit is a mass unit which is exactly equal to the 1/12 the mass of carbon-12 isotope. Remember carbon-12 isotope I have spoken. Now what is isotope? That we will read for the what are isotopes. But carbon it exists in carbon-12 also, carbon-14 also. But we have taken carbon-12 as a standard reference. Now what similarly the relative atomic mass is also similar. It is an average of an atom which is also measured as a 1/12 the mass of the carbon-12 isotope. So due to this measure, so here I have mentioned some of atomic mass units of few elements which you can see that what are the masses, how we have measured the mass of some of the elements, because we know that atoms are too small, that how we can measure the mass of the atoms. We can measure the radius in nanometers, no doubt. But how to measure the mass? So we have took a standard reference. Earlier it was we were using oxygen. But now, after universally IUPAC, they decided after 1961 to take as carbon-12 isotope as a standard reference to measure atomic mass unit. So now also we are using carbon-12 isotope only. So the elements which you are seeing over here, so they are also based on the atomic mass unit of carbon-12 isotope. So this was atomic mass unit, that how we are measuring atomic mass and what were atoms, how it was measuring radius. So now come to the how do atoms exist. We know atoms of most of the elements that do not exist independently, except in noble gases like helium, argon, xenon. They exist independently. They don't combine with anyone. But rest of the atoms are there. They have to depend on another atom to exist in this nature. So they form molecules or ions. So these molecules or ions they aggregate to form a matter which we can see, feel, or touch. So this was an atom, that how the atoms they were discovered and how they exist. So next we will discover, in the next part we will learn about what is a molecule and how these molecules exist. So till then, stay tuned. Thank you.